Well, all right. Howdy, y'all. This is Texas Colin Shaw coming at you, here to tell you a little bit about License to Watch. License to Watch has exclusive content. You want to get that exclusive content on the Patreon. Patreon page is www.patreon.com/L2W. You know what I'm talking about. That's going to get you exclusive content. Only $1 a month. $1 a month, you get more of Matt McGregor, Harris McCabe, and yours truly, Texas Colin Shaw. Coming straight at you with opinions, jokes, and all around good times. That's www.patreon.com/L2W. Check them out for exclusive content.
The critical and financial failure of Rennie Harlin's Exorcist: The Beginning forced Warner Brothers and Morgan Creek to re-examine the unused footage from the first version of the film, directed by Paul Schrader. In an attempt to recoup the money they lost, the studio agreed to put Schrader's version together and release it in a few theaters across the country. Editor Tim Solano was hired to reassemble the Schrader cut. However, he refused to do it unless Schrader himself was brought back onto the project to oversee the edit. Schrader returned and was given a budget of only $35,000 for all post-production work, including the edit, musical score, color correction, and any post-sound work that was needed. The score was cobbled together from a few sources. For no pay, composer Angelo Badalamenti created 14 minutes of music in key pieces of the film, and a lot of Trevor Rabin's score from Exorcist: The Beginning was reused in parts as well. The last 20 minutes of the movie were scored by the heavy metal band Dog Fashion Disco. Schrader's son was a fan and convinced his dad to select them to help compose music for the film. They also helped unify the score from all of its disparate sources into a single cohesive soundtrack. In the end, there was no money for any ADR work, and the color grade was approximated by Solano and Schrader together, rather than DP Vittorio Storaro, who was unable to return. While the reviews for this film were slightly better than the reviews for Exorcist: The Beginning, it still received mostly negative criticism, and had the ultimate misfortune of opening on the same weekend as Star Wars Episode III: Revenge of the Sith. This film made a total box office gross of just $251,000. The ambitious task of creating a worthy prequel to The Exorcist took 2 movies to come to fruition, and ultimately both films could not live up to their promise. Since the release of this film in 2005, no other Exorcist films have been produced. It took 4 sequels for the studio to come to terms with the fact that nothing, it seems, can live up to the success or the horrors of the original film. Join me, Matt McGregor, along with my co-hosts Harris McCabe and Colin Shaw, as we dig deep under the African soil once again to re-examine a familiar artifact from a totally different perspective. Be sure to bring along your weird butterfly collection, invite your cave-dwelling Cro-Magnon man friend, and clear those bloody maggots off of your seat as we investigate once and for all whether or not this film is the official prequel of The Exorcist. We're talking about the 5th and final entry into the Exorcist film franchise, 2005's Paul Schrader classic, Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist. This is a show about franchises. Spooky movie franchises. You're listening to License to Watch.
Why in the world was this movie made? Jesus Christ! It is he who commands you! The power of Christ compels you!
Welcome to the show. This is License to Watch. We are talking about Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist. This is the 5th and final movie of this franchise, and boy, are we glad to be done with this.
Oh, you know what? I watched Old Dominion, the prequel to The Exorcist.
That was about the founding of the university by exorcists.
Joining us today is friend of the pod, a lovely writer and director named Jeanne Jo.
What's up?
How are you?
Good.
What up?
How are you guys?
Thanks for joining us.
Oh, you're so welcome. Happy to be here.
Did you like this movie?
Oh my God, it was life-changing. Life-changing. Hyenas everywhere in my dreams.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I guess the first question is, like, Jeannie, what is your relationship with The Exorcist? Do you like the first movie at the very least, or like, are you into horror films at all? Or
Yeah, I love horror films. I loved The Exorcist. I think I've only seen it once. I was probably a teenager. My my real memory of The Exorcist is watching it with some boyfriend and his mom sneaking around the house to the side window right at the scary part and jumping out at us. Terrifying.
Oh my God.
She was a great lady.
I was going to say that's a good, I don't know if the boyfriend thing was working out, but the mom seems like a keeper to me. That
She was a
seems like
keeper.
a
I
good,
should call her.
Yeah.
I wonder what was going on in her life where like she had the kind of time for that.
Colin, for great pranks like that, you make the time.
Yeah, true. Are we gonna talk about those hyenas? You mentioned them, and
we're just jumping right into the hyenas.
Colin, we've got 2 hours to bring up the hyenas again. Will you chill for a
Okay,
second
all
and
right.
just?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Just to fill Jeannie in, there were hyenas in the previous movie, and they were terrible looking. But the hyenas in this movie
Are
make
also
those hyenas
terrible
look
looking.
like Citizen Kane hyenas.
Wait, are we really? Are we all on board with these hyenas being the worst of the two hyenas?
Well, here's my thing: is like the first appearance of the hyenas in this movie is just one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yes, it's terrible.
Yeah.
When we get to the point where we're getting the animatronic hyenas, even when they give them the demon eyes, I'm getting a serious cuddly vibe from them. And
Yeah, I thought they were.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you guys saw that.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely on board with
they
that.
needed to give them like sharp teeth or like a sneer kind of look, but they don't. They're just kind of sympathetic looking.
Yeah,
with
but they
red
do the
eyes.
head tilt.
We're the
yeah.
real victims here.
Yeah. We're just
Yeah,
hungry.
Exactly.
Hungry for your flesh.
They were.
Well, you don't even
Yeah.
see them eat anyone. They get eaten by the cows,
cows.
in the
The
only
cows eat
animal
'em.
eating scene.
Yeah, which also looked wonderful.
What was the metaphor there? That part kind of lost me. I was trying to follow.
I think it was just
I didn't
supposed to
get
be
it
like.
either.
I think it was just supposed to be like creepy and unnatural. That the cows were eating the hyenas rather than vice versa. But
Okay.
it really didn't come across the way they wanted to. Probably because honestly, that might have been the worst CGI shot in either of these two Exorcist prequel movies. Because like the hyena that the cow is eating doesn't even look good. Like it looks like that's bad CGI, but it isn't even moving. It's literally sitting on the ground. They could have just put some like cow food in a fake dead hyena corpse and just had like a real cow eat it. Like they didn't have to make these things with computers, which clearly didn't look like actual animals. There was like a really easy practical solution that probably would have cost less at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to give this movie credit, this was an unfinished movie that was going to be shelved for all time. And then only because the previous movie failed, they said, hey, let's finish this movie. And they didn't give it any really additional money. And they just said, like, do whatever you can. And to the point where the director hired, like, his son's band or his son's favorite band or something like that to, like, score the last half of the movie. And then the rest of the score is, like, stolen from the previous movie. They just, like, stole little
So I
pieces of
assume
it.
that his son's band was the one playing like the black metal song at the very end credits after like the start of the credits. There's like some awful.
I think his son's band
bad-
was also responsible for the VFX of this film.
I'll admit right now, I did not watch the entire end credits, so kudos to you, Harris.
No, I just had it playing in the background, and then I sort of like realized it and looked up and was like, wait, the music changed, and this is fucking terrible. It was like just like scream metal, and I was like, wait, this isn't an actual movie. This sounds like somebody's son's band.
So unfortunately for Jeannie, a lot of this discussion is going to be us comparing this movie to the one we just watched
I love
before
it.
this.
Hit me.
Because Jeannie, as I prepped you, this is essentially the same movie. It's very similar in a lot of ways, but it also has some pretty big differences that we'll talk about. But I'm curious, as someone who's only seen this one, what your opinions of things will be compared to ours.
Yeah, and I'm
So-
curious as to how much footage they managed to steal from the first version, or I suppose you could call it the second version because this was the first version, right?
This was the first version, yeah. So as far as I can tell, they reused the same sets, or a lot of the same sets. Some of the actors are playing, like, it's different actors playing this, the same role. I think based on like their availability, they just had to recast.
Yeah. The translator guy is the same guy, is he not?
The translator guy is the same.
Yeah, he's good.
His name is Chuma.
Yeah, Chuma.
Yeah, he's the same
He's
actor.
the best, and he is the same.
The
actor
girl
from
is
the first
different. The doctor
lady is
and then-
different.
Chuma
Gabriel
lives
Mann,
through it this time. They didn't kill him off like last
They
time.
didn't violently kill him.
Yeah, way to go.
Who?
I know Harris is into that.
Chuma.
Chuma lives.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know that he lives. We see him seizing up in the tent in the climax, and then we never see him at the end after that. So I guess like we can assume he
That
lives.
sounds like a mistake.
We don't see his grave, so I guess he lives. Father Francis also doesn't live, but we don't see him die. So it's entirely possible that Chuma was buried in an unmarked grave right next to Father Francis.
Yeah, we should have definitely had Chuma in the button scene.
Exactly.
That's a huge mistake.
Just
huge
major, unforgivable in my opinion. But yeah,
It's why this movie did so badly.
exactly. This is why they had to reshoot the entire thing. They were like, "Wait, you left Chuma out of the button? Well, we could just shoot that in pickups." No, do it all again. Do it all again. Yeah. I actually was.
Since we're getting right into it. Oh, go
I
ahead.
was going to say I was actually amazed at how much of this movie is totally different. I mean, you're right; they kept the same sets, some of the same actors, but like there were plot points that were similar, like some of the conversations, or like the guy having a seizure while he's working were in the first movie, but that was a totally different scene that was totally reshot. And like the Marin character is completely different. He's like an old failed drunk who isn't a priest anymore in the other one, and in this one he's still kind of a priest and
Doesn't drink at
sober.
all.
Yeah, doesn't really drink at all, and is like a sober archaeologist who's just kind of over the God thing. It was very, very strange.
Yeah, they got rid of the whole like man who's lost his faith trying to get it back subplot. That's gone. He's not trying to get his faith back.
He's a man
He
who's
doesn't
lost his
care.
faith, and he's kind of cool with that.
Yeah, exactly.
He's found his faith in archaeology.
It's like the vibe is gone too. It's like I got a serious like Van Helsing vibe from the first one, and this one's not giving me that vibe.
I thought it was weird when he shows back up in his priest robes again. It's like, oh, are you still in the church? Or is this sanctioned? And how did you even become an archaeologist after all of that? I don't know.
Right.
Confusing.
Yeah.
Why is he wearing the white part? I thought the white part was just for like the young boys to wear, like the outer the white thing. You know what I'm talking about?
No, but I don't know the rules of priest outfits. I don't know the priest uniform code.
Why not, Harris?
Yeah, can you get me someone who does?
I did.
It's all about the accessories.
I went to Catholic. I did my whole Catholic schooling thing where I was confirmed and everything. I think I might have skimmed that chapter. I think I probably got a B on the test and have forgotten that knowledge if I learned it.
Confirmed. He is a tool.
Yeah, but they did have them. They wore the little funny white half dresses in the first movie when they were getting ready to go into the room. You will
okay.
recall.
All right.
Colin.
Okay. Okay.
So it's definitely part of their exorcism outfit, I guess, is what I'm saying.
I think because we're getting right into it here, and we obviously have a lot to say, we should summarize the plot before we go any further.
Oh,
Okay.
No.
Yep.
But I have a point to make based off of that really quick, may I?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
As soon as it opens, they have the title card come up and it's black text on a white screen. I was like, well, that would be much scarier the other way around, because even the font is trying to be scary. But maybe it's supposed to mimic his white robe with the black thing underneath it.
That could be. That definitely could be. I thought they were cool titles just because it's a weird thing that you don't see that often. And I was like, oh, that's different. And I was like, for a half a second, I was like, oh, maybe this movie's going to be good.
I thought it was just a budgetary thing. Like, black background is way more expensive than white.
Yeah, all that extra ink.
Yeah.
What do you think we are, made out of inkjet printer cartridges?
A lot
What
more.
do you think this is? The Exorcist: The Beginning?
A lot more of this movie was in broad daylight. I thought it was just like that was the stylistic choice. Is like, well, a lot of this is in broad daylight. That reminds me of a white field instead of a black field.
And, we've all established that night is scary, but, day is scary too, I guess.
But they don't give a fuck about that.
So let's summarize the plot here, Colin.
Okay.
You ready?
He sounds so pumped about it.
Let me.
I feel
I'm
like
not,
this is
I'm
gonna
not
be
ready.
one of his best.
This is bad. Where do I
I
forget
don't
where
feel
he
like
is
a
when
lot
we
of stuff
start.
even happens in this movie, so I feel like
Is
this
he
should be an
already
easy
in
one.
Africa when we start?
Yeah, he's.
No, it opens
Oh
up
yeah,
with
it opens
the
up with a
flashback.
flashback,
Oh, right, the snowy times.
and that's
Got
all the
it.
help.
Which is, I
that's
think,
all the
the-
help we should give you.
That
Yep, that's good.
that's
I'm
the
good.
only
I'm set.
footage from this movie that they used in the other one.
But that's not the same footage. It's like they reshot the whole thing.
It's a totally different
Yes.
scene. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
All right, snowy times. Let's go.
All right, ready? On your mark, get set, Dominion.
All right, so we're in the flashback, and it's, World War II, WW2, Holland, and it's snowing. And it's like that kind of snow that, like, floats a lot. And this evil Nazi guy is like, I'm going to kill this village. Somebody died, and somebody's got to pay. I want to kill somebody. You there, priest guy, I want to kill somebody. Who am I going to kill? And the priest is like, I don't really do that. I'm a priest. And he's like, tell me who to kill. And he really keeps pushing that point, and then he starts murdering people, and the priest eventually gives in, and he's like, oh, I don't know, kill them. And, obviously he's got the guilt. Flash forward to now, which is not really now, but it's sometime. This guy's in Africa, and he's like, I'm doing archaeology now. I'm not so much about that priest life, because last time I had a bad experience, whatever. So this other priest guy and this translator guy, they all go to this dig site where they're digging up a church. And after they talk to the English army guy or whatever, and they go to the dig site, they start digging up the church. Guys are having seizures, and clearly there's evil afoot. There's some hyenas, whatnot. He finds this kid who's like kind of deformed in his arms and his legs, and he's like, I gotta be nice to him. And then this kid like thinks he's his father or something. I don't know. So there's this woman there, and she was in the Holocaust, but she survived, and she's the doctor now, and she tries to take care of that guy, and she becomes friends with him. And then it keeps being evidence that evil is afoot, and then the army guys from England, they come in and they're like, we're tough and we're mean and we're hard, and we don't like these tribal guys like being around here and shit. And the evil keeps coming, and like tensions build, and then the army guy commander, he kills himself after he kills one of the tribal people because he's just losing it. Other people, they crucify their own selves upside down and shit like that, and shit gets really bad. And anyways, it turns out the deformed kid was possessed, and he's got to be exorcised in a big showdown. And he also kills that the tribal people go insane and kill the other priest. But then our lead guy, our main priest, he comes in and he exorcises. He gets them. He does it, and he becomes a priest again. Not so much archaeologist. I'm a little over time. Sorry about that, audience and fans and listeners all around the world.
Very thorough.
Are you done?
Very thorough work there.
Oh yeah, and in the end, everything works out. Everybody's fine.
Yeah.
Well, that was certainly a summation of some kind.
Yeah, I should have gone. I really needed to get more into the character of Chachi. I mean, Chi-Chi. I mean,
Che-che.
Che-che. I wanted to call him Chachi the whole time. They should have had Scott Baio or whatever his name is.
And Scott Baio as Che-che.
Oh, God.
I'm watching the dream sequence right now, and I definitely don't want to forget to talk about this dream sequence.
I just put
Oh,
what the
it's
fuck several times in
nonsense.
my notes, so that's my hot take on the dream sequence.
Absolute nonsense. Who is that woman?
All
That's
right.
the big question. Who the fuck is the screaming woman?
But let's
Who is
start.
she?
They tell us at the end.
Do they?
Do they?
It's
Yeah,
hard.
yeah.
It's
No,
hard to
it's
say.
the
You tell me.
It's the girl. It's like one of the Jewish girls that the Nazi
That
guy
got
kills
shot.
as an adult. So it's like her ghost
Oh.
haunting him because it like
Her adult
That
ghost.
was
shows
not
her,
clear.
and then it like really quick. It shows the dream
Oh.
lady with the
As
crazy
much as
hair.
you saying that makes some kind of sense to me, there's also
believe
like
it.
all these gaps in whether that's real or just something that we're sort of, like it's like how much of that is us reading between the lines, and like because you could also say like no, this is his dead mother, and that's like a subplot that got cut, and I would be like, yeah, I guess it could be that too. Like who the hell? Like it's such a loose, tenuous connection to anything that it's just like what
It's
the
just
What is
that
the
one,
significance?
The one shot that follows that other shot. I mean, I could be wrong.
like if
for
somebody got
sure.
shot in the
That's how I took
hand,
it.
that would make
I
sense.
believe you.
Or
I accept that as plausible. I accept that.
I accept
still
anything as
wanna
plausible.
know-
That's how vague it is.
I still want to know what the significance of the head bandaging is. A bandage around his entire head. And is he dancing? Is that a dance move he's doing, or is that just?
I
'cause
felt
he's
like this
blind?
was like an outtakes from a Peter Gabriel video that they were shooting at the same time, and they were just like, "Can we work this in or something?" We got this floating
let's
clock
work
that
it in.
really makes sense with the music of this video, but
Sledgehammer.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's get right into it and talk about the major differences from this movie to the other one. We mentioned Cheche already, and I think he's the biggest change. He's the climax of the movie.
Right.
He's like, obviously in the previous movie there was a young black boy who is in this movie, but it's a different actor, and
actors
he
playing Joseph,
and his part is like
yep.
totally lessened. So the one guy, remember the kids in the school scene when the guy comes in and
Yep.
stabs a bunch of kids? Yeah, so like those two kids are
James and
they have a
Joseph,
much
the
bigger-
hotel guy's sons, have a huge role in beginnings.
Yeah, one of them gets ripped to shreds by a bunch of CGI hyenas,
And the other one
and then the other
is
one
possessed.
is
Fake possessed.
Is possessed. Yeah,
Oh.
well, they think he's possessed. They keep saying like he's the one who's possessed.
It's a red herring.
Yeah, and then it ends up being someone
Which leads
else.
us to
I
our
don't
other
know if I should
difference. In the
reveal.
first one, the doctor lady is not Jewish, but she was in a concentration camp because her father was hiding Jewish people, and she's a very pretty blonde lady who turns out to actually be the possessed one in a great twist at the end. I guess great. But she's
A
played
twist,
a
for
different
sure.
actress in this one, and she is a different character completely.
I mean, I can see
And her-
that studio note. It's like, why not just make her Jewish, guys? Like, why do you gotta make her not
Right.
Jewish and still stick her in the concentration camp? Like,
But because of the order
why?
these things were shot, I think the note was, she's a little Jewish for
Oh,
me. Can we
shit,
get a
you're
blonde
right.
in there?
Oh no! You know what? Call him out, Harris. Burn it down.
Yeah.
Burn it down.
I think it was probably the cart pulling the horse there a little more of like they cast the other actress and they were like, she doesn't read Jewish at all. Let's change her
Yeah.
backstory or something.
But let's definitely cast her for
What
other
about the
reasons.
fact
Right.
that like maybe
Yes,
the
as
woman
this
in this
Jewish
one
character.
cannot
Yeah.
maybe the woman in this one cannot act as possessed as our previous actress. You know?
I would've
Like,
left it
They
at
must
maybe
have
this-
screen tested her for acting possessed. Maybe
I would
that
have left it as maybe the
factored
woman in
in.
this one just can't act.
Oh well, I would.
She definitely isn't as good as what's her name, Isabella
Yeah.
Skorsko or whatever her name is.
she's cute,
Scorsese,
but she's
I
not
guess.
as memorable, and like she doesn't have as much to do.
Yeah, she doesn't have it.
Her whole-
It's a thankless part. But there is that.
Yeah.
There's also that where she really lost me because I was on the fence about whether she was a bad actress or just had a terrible part for most of the movie. And then there's that scene at the end where she's coming out of her, like apparently she was having a flashback fantasy where she could change things, which hasn't been explained to us at that point. So everything she's saying is gibberish. But also she's like really committed to it and trying to act her hardest. And I'm not buying any of it. Maybe partially because I don't understand what the hell she's talking about, but also she just wasn't pulling it off. And that's sort of where she
I was
lost
not-
me.
I was not super impressed with her.
Yeah,
I
unfortunately.
I wasn't disappointed by her, but I was not super impressed with her.
Yeah, it wasn't like a deal breaker for the movie. There was so many other bad things about this, but yeah, she wasn't the worst thing about this, but she also wasn't saving it. Definitely made me appreciate what's her name from GoldenEye a lot more.
Yeah. I don't think she had the worst part for women in this film. I think the tribal woman who gets killed in like an instant had a pretty bad part.
Maybe all of the tribal women, they're like
Yeah.
background characters, and most of the tribal men, there's not
I
a lot
mean,
of meat on
yeah.
the bone there.
The
Yeah,
whole tribe, not great roles.
yeah,
I hope we're gonna
Yeah.
wrap around to that part. I took some notes on their wardrobe.
yeah.
Okay.
Did you guys feel like, or I guess I felt like certain plot elements of this were better established to the point where it helped me better understand the previous movie.
Yeah.
You know, it made me like the whole thing. They set up the tribeswoman who was pregnant. You know, they kind of like planted that seed earlier,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the previous movie. They just suddenly cut to a woman giving birth
To a
and
maggot covered
you don't
baby.
know. They kept the maggot coveed baby. I don't know if I like that, but I mean, hey, consistency.
Yeah.
Well, you
Well, you pay for all those fake maggots. You want to use them in every possible
You have to use
way.
them.
Yeah.
You have to. We're paying for them. They better be in the
Yeah.
shot.
They're like, we have one
Yeah,
note.
I
If
think
we're
this
going to
is a
remake
worse
this movie, we're keeping the maggot-covered baby. We spent a lot of money. That was actually the most expensive prop in this movie. Where you write it into the beginnings. I don't care how you fit it in. And they're like, well, I guess we could just cut to a scene where a woman gives birth to it and not explain it. Yes, do that. Sure, whatever. As long as it's in there.
Yeah,
if
like-
you remember on the last show, I mentioned that the story goes that like they screened this movie for the Warner execs, and one of their assistants like went up to him, the CEO or whatever, and was like, "Yeah, this movie doesn't make me think of The Exorcist at all. There's like no Exorcist anything happening," and I could totally see that in this one. They even got rid of the Pazuzu statue. It's a totally different statue. Other than him being called Father Merrin, there's really like nothing. There's no Exorcist connection, It's like extremely loose.
I guess the only connection I could see was they do sort of plant in both his hallucination and in his dealings with the possessed kid later. They plant the demon face that Father Merrin sees in the first Exorcist, but that demon face is like in the first Exorcist is just like a couple of flashes, like flash frames, and in this one it's like we get a whole.
It's in the dream sequence,
yeah,
and that's
in the dream
right?
sequence, and also the kid's face turns into it at the end, which is
Somehow
very,
in this
very
one-
bad.
that
very
shot
bad.
was
Yes,
horrible.
very bad.
Somehow in
Yeah.
this one
Yeah.
it looks much more original Pennywise, like Tim Curry Pennywise
Yeah.
than, or maybe even, Krusty the Clown.
We
I don't
see
know.
it- we
It's-
see
it's
it
much
for
more
longer.
clownish in this one.
Yeah, we see
Yeah.
it for longer, and it just takes away some of like the mystery of it. But I guess that would be the
But
the only connection.
I'd be willing to bet that those shots were added once they decided to release this movie. At that
Yeah.
screening, they probably were not in the movie at that point.
Yeah,
Also,
but
the exorcism part of this movie is very fast and right at the end, and you don't really
Yeah.
feel like you're building into it at all.
Right, because Father Merrin doesn't believe, and even the priest who does believe doesn't realize that anybody's possessed until like the 70-minute mark of the movie.
Yeah, and
see,
then
but
he
here's
gets
the
killed.
problem.
Right.
Is that priest, when he went to that baptism and he only brought the baptism stuff and he didn't bring his other books, he was unprepared. And preparedness is important in a young
Rookie
priest.
mistake.
And we want to see him bringing all of his books, including the rites of exorcism, as well
Yeah.
as the big cross. And
Yeah,
Where'd
he
they
made a
get that
mistake and he
water?
paid for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
he
see
made a
we
mistake.
see this all the time. We see this all the time. Rookie mistake. Listen, every time I come to an exorcism, I bring my whole kit. I bring the baptism stuff. I bring the exorcism stuff. I bring the wedding stuff just in case. Maybe you want to marry the demon. I don't know. Listen, when you call 1-800-EXORCIST now, I am coming prepared. This is what a professional does. Listen, you don't have to pay extra. You can get a bargain rate. I pass the savings along to the customers. I bundle everything. The wedding.
And when
the
I come over
exorcism-
to your house, to do an exorcism, I know what I'm supposed to be wearing. I have the little white
I
chest
bring all the
dress.
accessories.
I
I've
bless
got
all the
I-
water.
I got that little jangly chain with the T on it. I got all those things. Believe me, I know my stuff. I'm a professional.
I've got it all. I got a backup holy water in the truck.
I deal with everything: exorcisms, CGI hyenas, cows gone berserk.
Maggot babies.
It's maggot babies. I
I
handle.
got a
all
special
did
on
we get
maggot
the
babies
Locusts?
right now. You need a maggot baby exercised? I got you covered. It's half price through the month of February.
Did we get the locusts back? Were those locusts I saw?
We got some.
in
No,
the
they were
spitting
like
part?
they were like weird little pincher bug things. They had like little pointy, pokey tails. Not technically locusts. I was just glad to have
I
bugs
know.
back in the equation.
I was mad that they weren't fully locusts. That was a big. I felt ripped off.
So,
be honest.
Jeanne Jo, there was a
Sorry,
previous
Jeanne.
movie that had an extensive subplot involving an African community plagued by locusts, and
Sure.
then James Earl Jones dressed up in
Love
traditional
him.
African garb, including a giant
This is getting uncomfortable. Yeah.
giant paper mache locust headdress,
Oh boy.
which was
All right.
which was honestly the highlight
Some-
of that film.
Someone's getting fired.
Yeah, but the locusts.
Yeah, so this is now the second movie where they've gone back to shoot like Father Merrin's African past, even though they established in the second one, so much that happens with Kokumo is the young boy that he exercises, and the locusts, and now they've been given two opportunities to bring back any of that stuff, and they have not. So
Yeah, so this
Big
is the
misstep.
third time we're seeing Father Merrin in Africa.
Yes.
Technically the fourth, if you count the very beginning of Exorcist 1.
And I'm not an expert on African garb. Like, I don't know what traditional African tribes wear, so I feel like I'm not really qualified to critique. Maybe somebody did a lot of research and these are all completely accurate. It's possible. But I don't feel like they've gotten much different from the ones from like The Exorcist 2 that was like in 1980 or whatever, which had a bunch of like sort of cheesy cliche tribal outfits. And these ones, I mean, they're inventive. They're certainly interesting looking. I thought their warrior outfits where they like have all the white body paint on were totally dope, but also they do look like Street Fighter characters, like,
I mean, this is supposed to be what, 1946 or something?
yes.
So I'm just going to point out that I don't think that they would be wearing tribal outfits made from flannel and leopard print as they are at 36 minutes and 55 seconds. So I'm going to call that one out.
I mean, I feel like leopard print was
Inaccurate.
pretty hot back then. I don't know. It's like, you had like, the ladies in the leopard print coats and the pumps and stuff like that. I'm just assuming fashion travels very far in this.
Yeah, but
in
it's
this
like
universe.
a cut like a loincloth kind of feel. Or,
Yeah,
like
it's very Johnny
not like she's-
Weissmuller.
They're not wearing a flannel. It's just flannel material
Right.
cut with like, and then like a weird feather headdress.
Yes. It's
No.
flannel material
that
cut with
note-
like
Do
a
better.
jagged edge so you know that it's tribal.
Yeah.
They don't know how to cut straight lines.
Offensive.
You know it's the chief because he's got a little ball sack on his chin.
Yeah.
And
Something on there.
and then the other guy has like a huge like metal leaf thing
Yeah.
Did
That
you guys
hangs
see-
down
did you
from
see
his
that?
nose,
There was
yes.
a leaf. Yeah.
From his nose.
I'm sure
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah,
saw that in International Geographic and was like, some costume designer was like, "Oh, I'm definitely using that. I like the nose
This
leaf."
says Exorcist 5 to me. We got to put it in the Exorcist 5.
Yeah.
But going back to the leopard print, I'd be prepared to watch like an entire mini series of the entire history of leopard print and its uses. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I'm interested in that. And I think that's a real missed opportunity by the producers of fashion-related history documentaries.
Oh.
And I'm looking forward to seeing that soon.
I hope so. I agree. I would just like to say that I have the movie on, and I just want to point out another key difference in this that was very helpful to me, which I know you guys don't care about at all, and will probably mock me for. But in the last one, in the beginnings podcast, I mentioned that the gate of the fort didn't close right, and it looked like it was closed, so like it ended up being a V that was pointed into the courtyard, which would be like the worst way to create a gate. And I assumed that it was just some kind of construction problem in building the set. But in this one, they actually have like a couple extra frames of that same shot of the gate closing, and you see the gate close all the way, and I realized what it was. It's an optical illusion. The gate has a peak to it. It's like got a pointy top, so it looks like it's closed like an inverted V, but when you see it close all the way, it's just like a weird pointy topped gate that you don't have those shots in the other movie, which made it very confusing, and in this one it was very clear. So I'm relieved that their fortress is slightly more secure, even though this is like probably
Wow,
the
I'm
dumbest.
glad they cleared that
This is
one
the
up.
dumbest thing that I've ever brought up,
Gate
I think, on any
critique
of these.
rescinded.
Yeah, exactly. I stand corrected. Sorry, The Exorcist Beginnings. You are 1/1000% better for me now.
They kept Major Granville, the character of Major Granville, who is he has a much bigger role in this movie. And
You know
again,
what they
like
should've done?
his.
Leopard print gate.
Can you hear me?
Sorry. I just really
Got
needed
you,
to
Matt,
say that.
yeah.
Go ahead, Matt. They kept Major Granville.
Yeah, I feel like they went deeper into like who he was, and like you actually kind of cared who he was. You know, in the last movie. In the last movie, Jeannie, he had a ridiculous death. So they kept Major Granville's like obsession with butterflies.
Yeah, I think
and,
it's called a
like,
Oh, I was going to ask about that.
Lepidopterist, I think, is a butterfly.
He had way
yeah,
more
he's a
butterflies before. Now he's only
lepidopterist.
got
Yeah, and it was like an important plot point before, and now it's just like they mention it at the beginning, and then there's a butterfly in his hand at the end.
I totally
what I
missed
mean,
it at
like-
the beginning. And at the end, I'm like, why is he crunching a butterfly in his hand as he's dying?
Yeah.
It's just weird, but
Well, this is
okay.
another thing where like they didn't set it up in the previous movie, and he dies like while he's looking at his butterflies, and it's just kind of like, okay, that's weird.
wait, no.
But
But he dies when a butterfly crawls out of his mouth as he's looking at his butterflies.
I'm gonna have to
Right.
watch this other movie. I think
It's fucked up. Yeah.
You've convinced me.
They set it up better in this movie to where it would pack a punch if he did die via a butterfly crawling out of his mouth, but then he doesn't, and he just shoots himself in the head and happens to have a butterfly like in his hand.
Yeah,
I don't know. I
very-
feel like had they mixed elements of the two, it would have been a little bit
But
better.
in the other
Like
one,
he
he's
shoots himself in the head, and then the butterfly comes out of his mouth. Is that what you're talking about?
or comes out of the
Ooh.
bullet hole.
You know what?
Oh,
Why
yeah.
not?
yeah, sure.
Why
well,
not?
He
his
shoots
mouth-
himself in the head, and
Yeah.
instead of blood
Yeah.
flowing out, it's just a bunch of butterflies flying out. And he's like, "Oh, my brain was full of butterflies. Oh no!"
His second in command in this movie, who's a new character, is the actor who played Del Preston in Wayne's World 2.
Yeah.
Do you guys know who I'm talking
Yes,
about?
Yes.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Although he's like the ultimate
I love
roadie
that
or
guy.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
He's the one who says, "That's probably why
I had to beat them to death with
Oh,
their own
yeah.
shoes.
their shoes." What's the one he
Although
says
I-
about Mick Jagger? It's
I
like
j-
he can't be killed by conventional methods or something like that. Do you remember that? Yeah.
I just recognize him as one of the random bald dudes from Alien 3. I was like, "Oh, that guy's definitely in Alien
yeah.
3." And I thought that the entire time, and then I looked it up, and I was like, "Yes, he totally is in Alien 3."
Yeah,
So-
he's the guy with the low IQ.
Del Preston is a way better
right,
role.
exactly.
Yeah.
Del Preston's a way better character and role. It's so good. The ultimate roadie. Come on.
Well, anyways, this guy's had a pretty fantastic career. I think we could all agree on that. I love the scene where the Major Granville shows up and starts like telling him to have the men salute because he doesn't want to accidentally show disrespect to the elite of the tribes people there, and then the sergeant major guy says something racist, and then when the major tries to like reprimand him, he just starts yelling "attention," blah 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 blah, and going on with the thing. I thought that was like a great exchange. There wasn't a lot of this movie that I like, just scenes that I thought worked, but that was the thing that I think told you a lot about these two characters. Like, this guy's a racist asshole, this guy's kind of a martinet whose men don't respect him that much. You know, like, you sort of saw a lot of dynamic play out just in a few lines, which I thought worked well.
Were you guys thinking a lot about the shorts? I mean, the officers are always
I
wearing
was
shorts
thinking
instead
about
of
the
pants
shorts.
in their military uniforms, and I just could not stop thinking about it.
I was having a hard time like respecting them as dangerous soldier guys when they're wearing like, even if they have the legs to pull it off, I was still like, come on, dude, put some pants on.
The fit of the shorts reminded me of like early 2000s board shorts. I thought they were like, about to go surfing or something. It was
Yeah, they're definitely built for action.
Okay, so I'm watching the movie right now, and I'm seeing this black guy in the white suit, but I like completely forget who he is. And
he's the surgeon who cracks the bone.
Oh,
yes,
that's
he's the surgeon
right,
who
that's
re-breaks
right.
the leg. Yeah,
yeah,
and then
So-
sort
I
of
didn't feel like that was medically accurate. I felt like
No.
that was
not.
nasty
Yeah.
to watch.
no.
I mean, it's like so we cut to like some lady in the tent giving birth for some reason who we've never seen before. And then this like gratuitous shot of surgery with like the skin peeled off the bone. And then the soldiers go in to steal the gems from the church. And then all three things happen at once. The surgeon breaks the bone. The guy gets the gem off the thing. The woman screams. And then the payoff is this baby's been born covered in maggots somehow that are alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it. You're like, what? What? Why? What's happening? What's this baby? And then the next morning, the
Satan.
soldiers are just killed on the altar.
Yeah,
yeah,
So
there's
it was
a
like
lot of what the
this
fuck
big
stuff
build
going on.
up to it, like not like, and it all sounds like it's working, but then when you think about it, you're like, what was any of that? Why did any of that happen?
It's like working on a very surface level in that it's the two grossest things in the movie, the maggot baby and the surgery, the leg surgery,
yeah.
cross-cutting between each other, and I'm like totally horrified and do not want to watch. And then it's over, and I'm like, what the fuck?
You know what takes away from some of the terror for me? So the maggot baby thing, it's gross, it's horrifying, it's terrible. But like the idea is that Satan somehow infested the womb with the maggots with like the magic powers or whatever, right? And we also know that Satan caused the two guys to go insane and like behead one another and like crucify himself upside down.
I have a question on
But
that
we
after
also know that the reason we know that one of the African guys didn't crucify the guy upside down is that one of the African guys witnessed this, and he says that the guy crucified himself upside down. So he doesn't seem to be saying that he saw him levitate. So we did like sorry. Satan did something really supernatural by putting the maggots into the womb, and Satan also possessed them and made them kill each other. But this guy, with his own power, crucified himself upside down.
Okay, but just to add to that, because I want us to continue this conversation in this line of thinking, but there's no way that those maggots were inside the womb. As the only vagina holder here, I'm just going to point out that when you smush a baby out of that thing, those maggots are coming off. You know what I mean? Like the maggots had to come onto the
There's
baby.
not a lot of clearance
after
there.
it was born. Like so
why
this
I just
dead
did that
baby
hand
comes out, and then it gets covered with humongous crawling maggots somehow. No shit, that woman is screaming.
Well,
that's
really
I
would just like to say we don't know which child this is. This could be like her 14th or 15th kid. In which case, they might just be slipping right out.
Oh my
like,
god.
Oh my god.
waving their
Harris.
arms the whole way.
Harris, Harris, you're in a timeout.
We're not at fucking like the water park here. They're not jumping down the slide.
All right.
That's ridiculous.
The maggot slide. My question about the whole thing about the two guys killing, the whole murder-suicide thing, is I kind of got to side with Granville on this. I don't see how this is actually possible at all, because the two guys die. One guy is beheaded. The other guy is upside down with both of his hands stuck into the altar with knives. Which one of those guys killed the first guy and then killed himself? I don't understand how,
good
like,
point.
did the guy behead himself or did the guy kill himself and then stick both his hands into the altar with knives? I just don't see.
Yeah.
If I'm Major Granville, I'm going, yes, this sounds like bullshit to me.
Hey, where
You know,
there's a
sorry,
will,
this
there's a
is
way,
the-
Harris.
Right.
This is why there's a distinction here to me, is because the guy witnessed it. So, and he clearly doesn't think he saw levitation. So, I mean, basically, we have to believe that Satan has the power to like materialize the maggots, and Satan would also have the power to levitate. We saw what's his name, Chachi, levitate in the end. But the witness does not say there was levitation involved, and that means
Well, we don't
that
get a
this
lot of
guy-
details from Jojo or whatever his name is. Jomo.
That's true.
They don't
but
really listen to him.
Right. They don't ask
Yeah.
him like they. I think if
Yeah.
he could articulate exactly what was going on there, that might be a little more.
Yeah.
Maybe we'd have some answers.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Come on, Jomo. Out with the details, buddy.
Come on.
Yeah. And then
Yeah, instead,
Jomo.
this guy's just raging like, "No way! I hate tribal people." Blah, blah, blah. He should have been like, "Listen, Jobo, what you're saying doesn't make sense."
The Granville was supposed to be like so deferential to the tribes and trying to keep the peace and stuff, and then he goes into like the racist guy like immediately. He's like, "Oh yeah, no, fuck them. These guys are all liars and they're killing my
I thought
men."
we were supposed to think he was like touched by the evil. At that
I think we're
point.
supposed to think that like everyone here is a little touched by the
little
evil,
touched by something.
eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question about Cheche. So he's a Neanderthal, obviously, right? He's got no eyebrows and is like, what's this called? It's like protruding.
Yeah, he's
Well,
got
his bone structure changes throughout the course of the movie.
Yes.
Quite a
Like
bit.
really dramatically,
Yes.
they change his face structure, and then by the end, they make it quote more normal, which is already weird and probably problematic.
Right.
So
It doesn't
know,
make
man.
sense with the other Exorcist movies too. Like every time the demon possesses you or like does anything to you, it fucks you up. And the demon is like trying to make him like a hot guy or something. What the fuck? You
I know
Like,
he gets way hotter. It's like Jesus meets Lord Voldemort by the end of it.
He
in like
d-
a
he
loincloth.
basically-
You're like, all right.
pretty sure he just turns
Okay.
into a Dragon Ball Z character at the end. Once he
Yeah.
started levitating, I was like, shit. Like,
And he kept opening his legs. Did you guys notice that?
yes,
Yeah.
I'm so glad that
I
they
was
had
like,
some
thank
underwear on them.
God,
there. Yeah.
there's underwear. You got to wear underwear under your
It's
loincloth.
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
if-
listen,
if-
if you're
if
gonna
he-
wear the whole Jesus loin wrap there, you really gotta make sure you wrap up underneath.
And
you know?
and the way they showed him crossing his legs is if he did not have the underwear, we would have not only seen his penis, we would have seen the front of his balls, the back of his balls, and his butthole as well.
It's true. It was
Yeah,
a
this
weird
was
angle.
like
You see
beyond the
everything.
basic instinct moment. This was
Upskirting to the extreme.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, this was some dirty stuff. But
gross.
luckily, and see, I would wonder if maybe they forgot in the moment and then had to CGI his underwear on later. Except I see how bad the CGI is in this movie, so there's no way that was legit underwear.
Definitely practical underwear.
Yeah,
for sure.
they went practical
Thank
with
you,
the underwear, which
wardrobe.
is a smart move. Yeah.
Was do you think it was a decision on set? Like, they shot one take and they were like,
They're like, holy
no.
shit!
"Can we get some underwear on this guy?
Get the underwear in there. Slide in the
Get some
underwear.
on this guy." I don't want to make a big deal here, but
The first instance of bad CGI I noticed in the movie is when they first get to Africa and he's shown, the dig site, and at that point it's just the dome like coming out of the top. Did you notice that they CGI'd the rest of the mountain like over? So the church set was like a church set exterior, but in the beginning it's supposed to be buried. Yeah, so they just CGI'd. It looked like they just copy and pasted.
I didn't notice that.
I noticed it because
That's
it's
funny.
like, I forget what it's called, but it's that visual effect. Like your iPhone does it. If you like move it side to side, like things kind of move like this.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm talking about? So like the camera was moving and you could see like the mountain was like moving too.
Oh, like a little frame shutter.
Yeah, something like that.
yeah, I noticed that effect, but not in that scene. It was like when we were inside the church in the end at some point. Actually, I noticed it multiple times, but it's just like I just knew there was bad CGI going on.
The ground is
And
just
it's
like the ground is just
it's
like
like
a
a
Super
little
Mario
wiggle.
Brothers background where it's just the same cloned rock over and over again.
Yeah. Do you know where they shot this? Because I was thinking like, is this Lancaster?
It's
Palmdale? Like,
Southern
where are we
California
really?
for sure. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I bet we could look that up.
Yeah.
You guys talk. I'm gonna look it up.
I guess like what I'm interested in is like what you guys think are some of the changes that they made for the better, and then what do you think they did right in the other, or I guess like the real question is like, which one is better, this one or the previous movie, and why?
Well, I think that's more like a sum up question than a middle of the podcast question. But I'll jump in.
Well, I'm
I'll-
working
I'll talk
towards
about
that
it,
is what
though.
I'm saying. Like I want to get to the.
Oh, you're trying to wrap this up now?
Yes. For the sake of our listeners.
No, I'll address a little bit of that question, some of it at least. I think that there are some storytelling things that tell us more in this movie, that give us more of the story that is a little bit in the first movie, that are done a little better. Overall, I think it's not as good of a movie, but it did do some things better. I think that we understand the story of Marin better. Like his crisis of faith is actually more of a real story in this one. I think the tribesmen against the British story is more of a real story in this one. And I think that the possessed person is a little more floaty in this one. I don't know. I ran out of stuff.
Just keep talking. Don't let that stop you.
I would say that the possession is better in the previous movie because they built a twist around it. It was a character who you
Yes.
didn't suspect was possessed and didn't want to see possessed, so it was a kind of a shock because they sort of worked towards a love story in the previous one, getting Father Marin and the doctor together. They had like one or two scenes where they were like getting to know each other intimately. And do they have a kissing scene? I forget. They did. Yeah. And so when she's revealed,
I also think when she's possessed, she's acting more threatening, and
Yes.
when this guy is possessed, he's acting more confident, I guess.
He's very chill.
But
He's very chill.
also,
He's like, yeah, sure. Run back and get your exorcism tools. I'm good. I'll just hang here.
Yeah, and he doesn't fight or like he wasn't very threatening at all. And when they started when he starts backhanding him and stuff, he's just like falling on the ground. Like he was just I don't know, just they defeated him too easily, I felt.
Yeah. Listen, the other
Here's
one's really.
something I thought that was stupid. Sorry, Harris. Here's something I thought that was stupid is when he the first priest, what's his name? The guy who looks kind of like Judge Reinhold crossed with Colin Hanks.
Yes, that's perfect actually.
Father Francis?
Father Francis, yeah.
Yeah, Father Francis. Yeah, so when he he bitch slaps Father Francis, and they do this weird slow-mo thing where he flies through the air for like a good
Yeah, I
30
wanted to talk
seconds.
about that. I was like, is that cool or is that lame? I can't even make up my mind.
it would have been cool if he flies and hits one of the statues of the angels, and the statues of the angels are all holding like sharp weapons. If they had impaled him on one of those sharp
Yes.
weapons, that would have been scary, cool, terrifying, all of it. But missed opportunity.
Rennie Harlan would have thought of that too. Yeah, I'm not. I don't have a lot to add here except that this is definitely not as good as the other one. But I think the difference is negligible. This is my thing: is that this is what's the most confounding and odd thing about this whole situation is that this movie is not aggressively bad or anything. It's kind of, I can understand the producer's concerns that this isn't the most thrilling take on the Exorcist IP, but at the same time, it's not like the other one is significantly better.
Right.
So if you already have this in the can, why would you shelve this and reshoot basically the entire fucking thing for a marginally more exciting product? It's like, I think it's like a fascinating case study in like a crazy production decision, but it doesn't make it doesn't make either of these very fascinating movies.
Did this whole debacle take down Morgan Creek Productions, or is that still in existence? I feel like this probably hurt them, right?
I haven't researched the history of Morgan Creek Productions.
You know, the company that brought you, I think, Ace Ventura is bringing us Exorcist 4 and 5.
I don't know that this is that big of a misfire, but well, I don't know. Maybe it was.
It was a big
I have no
loss,
idea.
I think. I mean, altogether, the two movies cost $80 million to make. The first one, or Exorcist: The Beginning, cost $50 million, and this one cost $30 million.
Here's a good question. Which one of these movies was Skarsgård better in? Because we didn't really, we kind of glossed by that.
Yeah, let's talk
whole-
about the actors.
You mean Starsgard?
Skarsgård?
Yes, Skarsgård.
He's a star.
He's a star.
Well, let's get to.
Jeannie, where are you at on
Yes.
this one?
Yeah, stop talking
I
about
only
stop
saw-
talking about the other movie. She can't participate.
Yeah, well,
know,
no, it's
sorry.
cool. Having only seen this one, I cannot compare performances. So
You don't have
I guess
to.
I'm interested to hear what
give
you
us
guys
give us
think.
some thoughts on Skarsgård in general and his performance in this.
Yeah, he's good. He's doing his thing.
Those
I
are
don't
those are
know.
some thoughts. Yeah.
Were there any performances that you didn't like, or like ones that you thought were really good, or?
I didn't. I was pulled out a lot by some of the kids. I know that it seems minor, but
No,
it
I'm with
matters, right? Like the
Yeah.
kids, all of them. The kid who gets killed
Yeah.
in the first bit, the
If
2
you've,
kids who are the son of the translator guy. They all look really, really happy to be there. And that kid who gets shot, it's like 1/8 of a second, but he's kind of smiling. And you're like, kid, tell the AD, to tell this kid to look scared when the guy puts a
Right.
gun to his head. Like that yanks you out. And it's like in the first minute and a half of the movie.
Yeah.
I agree with you that the female doctor they didn't give her a lot to do. Look pretty, remind us of Indiana Jones with your hairdo. Like that's a bummer. That's a missed opportunity there. And that was jarring a couple of times. Also, when she gets possessed or whatever, I don't know. I guess she's not actually possessed, but when she's hallucinating,
Whatever that part is,
yeah.
where
whatever
everyone's
that
kind of
is,
possessed.
they have some like weird makeup and hairdo shift that then is not carried into Cheche. Right? So
Yep.
it's like that was super confusing. Like if this is an element of whatever possession or pseudo possession is going on, I kind of need to see it carried into every character.
Right.
And then your lead dude, sorry, I'm wandering now,
No,
but he
that's
just
fine.
gets hotter.
That's good.
Like we said.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
what?
Exactly. And he doesn't
So
even
confusing.
say
Good to wander.
something. Doesn't he even say something about how hot he's getting?
Maybe.
I feel like
and
he
then,
says, like,
and
I'm
he's like
becoming
cooler
perfect.
too.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he says that, and he's like much cooler, flying around, confident, looking good.
And I think he's got like
then-
nipple glitter on. I think it's like
He had
it's like a
white
stripper
nipples.
thing where he's got a
Obviously.
little bit of nipple
Hello,
glitter on
obviously.
They were just
I
pure
mean,
white.
aren't you? I have that on right now.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
I mean, well, I'm not dancing tonight, but usually, yeah.
But then he sucks so bad at the end when he's back to normal and he's just like this like bowing like kind of sweet little kid again helping the doctor make a bed and you're like, now you suck. You
he's
were
Why
cuddling
does
with
he
the
think
demons.
Father
simple.
Marin is his father?
He's
Like,
not calling him
why?
father. He's calling him. What is he calling him? Abba?
Like
Appa? That's
Appa,
that
yeah.
actually is father in Korean.
Is
as
it?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
father
maybe
in
he's
Korean.
Korean.
Yeah, because he's certainly
feel
not
like
African.
Maybe.
Where did he come
Yeah,
from?
that was my other thing. It's like, wait, where did this kid come from? This
He
Filipino
just, like,
kid.
He lives in a cave. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah, this Filipino caveman
Yeah.
just showed up in Africa.
He literally
Very
looked like
strange.
a caveman.
No wonder he's angry and confused.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But like, what happened? Father Marin was just like, "Oh, maybe we should like give him some medical care." And all of a sudden, like in the next scene, he's like, "This kid is in love with me." Like, what the fuck is that?
I assume there's like when I was watching this, I just kept on assuming there's got to be like a 5.5 hour cut of this movie where there's all these other like where they develop all these plots, because they have like these plots of the British versus the natives and the rehabilitation of the caveman they found and the unearthing of the temple and the discovery that it's haunted, and the priests teaching the children and the romance between Marin and the nurse, and it's like none of these things is developed at all. They all kind of like skip beats. I felt like it was almost like what is the I'm trying to think of a good example of a movie that just skips to all the good parts and misses all the development. The one with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper that they did recently. That's just all. Yeah, Star is Born. That just basically skips all the payoffs and misses all the developmental parts, which a lot of people like that movie. I felt like I probably would have liked a 5-hour version of it that actually, built to all these moments. And this is like that. It was all the payoff moments, but trying to juggle like 5 different plots with just
I don't know. I think, Harris, I think your take on that is a little bit shallow.
Wow, got a couple of laughs on that one, Colin. Congratulations. Nice. That's a win for you. That's a huge win.
Just the joy in Colin's face as he says that to you.
Yeah.
But I mean, Harris, you brought up a good point there where you're talking about those 5 plot lines is like this theme of, I guess it's colonialism. Like, I hadn't thought about the Cheche thing as like rehabilitating the guy in the cave, but you're absolutely right. That is kind of what's happening. They're socializing him, and also the British antagonizing all the tribal people. I mean, it's so much. I mean, if you don't actually make that a true theme and pay it off and make commentary on it, then it's so problematic to just throw those into your story without comments.
And I almost think like because of who Paul Schrader is, and because he is kind of a big picture thinker and like a deep themes guy, and I feel like when he succeeds, or when his scripts succeed, everything is a little more condensed and focused. And you're not juggling multiple plot lines. You're just like, okay, here's Travis Bickle and what's he doing? And like when he's got a more focused idea, those themes come through really clearly. And in this, I think it's just he probably had a lot of big ideas, and it was probably super ambitious. And maybe he didn't get to shoot it all. Maybe he didn't get to edit it all into this version. But I feel like I am not hopeful that there was a good movie in there somewhere. But I do think like, if he had a chance to flesh these things out a little better, they would have made more sense, because it felt like there was just loose ends everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about speaking of screenwriters and the writing and stuff. I feel like we never mentioned in the last podcast, but both of these movies are written by this guy William Wisher. Do you guys know what else he's written?
Tell me more.
He wrote Terminator 1 and 2 and Judge Dredd.
Okay.
The one with Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Wait. Cameron didn't get writing credits on
He
Terminator
co-wrote it
1
with
and
this
2?
guy, William Wisher.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think he's actually... I think this guy was hired to write one of the Avatar sequels that's coming out, too.
I'm going to hypothesize without knowing anything that maybe James Cameron was sort of the driving force behind Terminator 1 and 2 being great. I
think you're onto something.
Me just throwing it out there. I don't know William Wisher. I don't wish him any ill will. But at the same time, it does seem like if you're just going by track record, here we've got a couple of hits and a lot of misses there.
It's just like the thought that occurs to me is like, so between this movie and the previous one, there's a lot of plot elements going on, like we talked about. And I thought the stuff in the previous movie was a little bit cooler between the tribe and the English soldiers and stuff. Like, and then the history of the demon, they don't really get into that in this. They choose not to address that it's Pazuzu or whatever. But like, this is the spot where Lucifer fell. They sort of imply that here, but they don't like outright say it like they did in the last one. And the whole like history that they like, we said it was a History Channel movie. I like all that stuff, and the lore that they created is cool. But the thought that I keep having is like, okay, you're hired to make a prequel to The Exorcist, which is like one of the most famous movies, let alone horror movies of all time, and this is the story that you come up with. It's like so detached from it. It's just. Both of these movies,
even genre-wise, neither of them are really horror
right,
movies.
Exactly.
Like they're like very, very light horror elements.
Yeah, I just don't get
agree.
The thought
and
process.
exorcism elements.
And they had some interesting set pieces that they could have really played up and they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, okay, they've uncovered this church that looks like a regular kind of Christian sort of church, except there's these weird statues in the middle. Keeping something sort of down there.
Yeah.
And then you open that bit up, which again, they open up like the coffin thing or whatever. And you're like, oh, brilliant. This is not going to end terribly. Or anything.
Right.
But it doesn't actually go that bad. There's just some tunnels underneath and some
very
weird,
well lit
kind of
tunnels
demon
underneath.
statues.
Very well lit, brightly lit tunnels that
This whole
aren't
movie's
ominous
really
at
well
all.
lit. There's a lot of light in this movie.
If you're gonna create a church that's there to house evil and to keep evil from escaping, then that should be the abyss. Like that should be like the dark place that you don't want to go. And there is nothing scary about the basement of the church. It is literally just a cave with kind of a funky blue statue in it. And a lot of overhead lighting, like really good recessed overhead cans that I think are probably on a dimmer, but
they're totally dimmable. Yeah. But it's also like, have they built? I was kind of thrown because I'm like, okay, did they just? Is there actually something dangerous down there, or did they just build the church on top of like the demon church as some kind of like fuck you because they don't like these tribal people? Like I couldn't really tell.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I
all
have a
like
big question
bad,
about
I mean,
but
for
it's not
for a
clear.
finished basement, it's kind of nice actually. So
I
not getting
just
horror.
Throw a
I have a
couple
big-
lazy boys down there, and you got a nice entertainment room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man
it's a
cave.
man cave.
Man cave.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Jinx. We all said man cave at the same time. I have a big question about this, though. I feel like it goes right along with what we were talking about, the writing and this whole church being kind of confusing in a way. At the point where Chachi decides that I just want to keep calling him Chachi. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
at the
continue
point
to
where
laugh at your
Chachi-
own joke too, because that's always a good way to sort of punctuate it.
At the point where Chachi decides that he is choosing to be baptized, why would they do it in that church? Like, yeah, technically it's a church, but it's also like an archaeological dig in progress and probably haunted.
The mouth of
and
hell.
Also
Yeah.
not a church. Like,
Right.
and they know that.
not
he
a
knows
church.
all of this
Not
stuff.
a church would be like pretty much one of the biggest things because they say right away they're like churches are for worship. This isn't a church. And it's like okay, so
Yeah.
maybe don't baptize.
And the
them.
priest is like, "Oh, that's the perfect place."
Right.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
That
no,
doesn't
that's
make
a-
sense
that's
to
a red
anyone in the
flag that
scene.
this
it
is a
doesn't make
demon.
sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. And also, when they open that casket, they cut to Cheche, and he somehow feels it. So, like, what is that?
He's hooked up.
Is he
Yeah.
already possessed?
Oh, yeah.
Why is this guy
Yeah.
intrinsically linked to the pagan god church already?
Yeah, that's another.
know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
that's another question they don't really explore. Is that like clearly this was part of this was like, I mean, I guess we don't know why he was. Was it already there in him, or did the demon come into him because he was somehow susceptible? He had whatever his pre-existing conditions.
I mean, the second
but like
the second he comes out with that wonky leg, I knew something was up with him. I knew he had a demon inside that leg.
that's
I mean,
they
I'm
do-
just gonna say that in 2020 is very inappropriate representation. Okay.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
you
especially
are not
when like
able-bodied. It does not mean you are possessed by a demon.
well, especially when like
That's
the
right.
tribes people are all assuming that he's possessed by a demon because he's like
Well, that's what I was gonna
got
say
Problems
is-
that like
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is the only real explanation for these questions we have is one line of dialogue where the tribesmen are like, "Oh, he's cursed." And that's it.
right
That's
exactly,
it,
and
yeah.
we're supposed to know better that he's not cursed, but at the same time, what is the movie saying when it turns out he actually is cursed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is the difference between cursed and possessed? Is it semantics? What I mean,
And
come on.
just like physically differently abled, like it doesn't really make that distinction between hey, is this guy, with his, fucked up face and leg and arm and everything, he's basically that's the call sign of, oh shit, stay away from that
Yeah.
dude. We definitely shouldn't have fed him water and tried to fix his leg,
Weirdly, the more we talk about it, the more I think the underwear is the wrong choice. Like maybe him showing his balls and butthole is the scariest thing we can see at that point, and really actually takes the
Depends
movie
on the
to a
balls and
different level.
butthole, really.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If he's properly
Might be
shorn,
okay.
it wouldn't be as scary,
I
probably.
I couldn't judge without seeing. No, I mean, I don't need it fully shorn, but tastefully trimmed and
What if you put some makeup on it to make it look more demonic? I don't know
Like
what
his
that
pubes
means.
are in the shape of like devil horns or something.
All
it's
right.
got
Well,
like a
we
little,
know what Colin's Halloween costume is next.
yeah. It's a Van Dyke. It's got like the little mustache on top and the little goatee down at the bottom.
Well, this is disgusting. I can't believe anyone would do this that we're talking about. Harris, you're so gross. Why do you do this stuff?
All right, I'll change the subject. I have a question just from a narrative filmmaking perspective question.
What is a film?
So there's a point more than an hour into this, like probably an hour and a half into this movie, like where it seems like we should be getting to the climax or the conclude, like we should be getting to like the third act, and it's where we learn that Chachi is possessed, and they go to baptize him, and he knocks the priest across the room, and the priest goes, "Oh, I've got to get my other book because I only bring the one."
Unprepared.
Yeah, unprepared.
Ridiculous.
And Chachi has gone full Dragon Ball Z. He's like floating and he's bald, and then they just like Father Marin wants to get into the place, but the rocks have fallen in front of it, and the sergeant
Yeah.
major comes and says, "No, I'm not doing anything till morning," and then they just cut to the next morning. Like you have like three parallel plot lines: the possession, the church being blocked with people trapped inside, and the soldiers preparing for battle, and they're all like reaching their peak, and it's about to explode and shit's about to go down, and then it's like, let's just pause everything, get a good night's sleep, and we'll pick up in the morning. And then we're not
I
even
felt
going to
worse
use
for that
this
woman.
We're not even going to use this time overnight to like forward any of these plots or develop characters in any significant way. We're not going to have that moment of peace
No.
where they talk about their lives and somebody makes a revelation. We're just going to cut
sunrise.
to sunrise. Yeah, exactly. Like it's such a weird choice, and it
You
feels
think
so
they would have saved that in the edit? Like it is a weird choice,
right. Yeah,
Because
it's
you're cutting to an interior anyway.
I mean, exactly. It just makes no sense to me. It was such a strange decision.
I feel bad for that woman, like her character and the actress. Like basically they just like threw away her character arc and they made her character make way less sense.
Yes.
And it's just like
Yeah.
they
And yet
don't
they give
care.
us like 5 identical white dudes. Sorry, y'all. But like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
with all these like different cool backstories and feelings and stuff.
Right.
and
then
they're
we,
like, let's not talk about like whether or not we care about her. Let's just put a rock in the way.
Yeah.
and like even Father Marin is like, well, if you're not going to help me move that rock, I guess I might as well have a drink and go to bed. It's such a but it also like we're led to believe that the tribe is having their tribal war chant, and the soldiers are all gearing up and yelling and shaking their rifles, and it's like this battle is imminent, and then like they all just sort of we're gonna wait a few hours. It's not. I mean, yeah, we're gonna fight, but like not now.
Not
like
now.
sometime.
Guys,
but,
I
yeah.
just opened a bottle. Hello.
Yeah.
Did anybody else want to watch a steamed hams video?
Steamed hams
Steamed ham? You know steamed
from The
hams?
Simpsons.
Aurora Borealis at this time of year.
Yeah, Aurora.
Localized
yes, exactly.
in your kitchen. Can I see it?
No.
No.
Well, I'm from Utica, and I've never heard of steamed hams. Oh, it's not a Utica expression. No.
It's more of an Albany.
Yeah.
Oh my God! All right, that was a nice Simpsons tangent. Apologies to those of you who do not know what the fuck we're talking about.
When
But
they put up that ridiculous Aurora Borealis.
The reference is that during
this
this montage that we're critiquing, there is such a bad phony Aurora Borealis going on in the background.
Couple of shots of it actually. They love it in this movie.
Different colors too, like there's the green one for the tribes
Yeah,
people and
yeah.
the pink one for the. Oh, and there's also like a shot of like I don't think this is in this montage. I think it's in a different montage. It's in the later montage when shit's really going wrong.
Push it
where
to
we
the
have a shot of
limit.
a
That montage?
not that montage.
Oh, that's not this movie. You're right.
It's the one at the very end.
She's on fire.
Where they're also a very good montage. But it's the montage where Father Marin is like exorcising the demon, and they're cutting to like the woman's about to kill herself, and Chuma is like seizing, and the battle is actually starting to go down, and people are firing shots and shit, and then they cut to a guy beating his wife.
Oh yeah, what was
Oh, yeah.
that?
Where did that
Who
come
was that
from?
lady?
I didn't know the
Did
lady.
we save her? Is
Who
she
is that
okay?
guy? Yeah, and what happened? Yeah, exactly. What happened?
That was so
Wait.
weird. That was so
Was-
weird.
Was that in the tribes people?
No, it was a black guy, but he wasn't. He was wearing like normal clothes. He was wearing like Western clothes.
But he wasn't the father of the Joseph.
No,
and-
I actually rewound it because that's what I thought. I thought, oh, maybe it was just him and I didn't recognize him. I rewound it. It's not that guy. It's a character
And
that
it's
we've
not-
literally never seen before.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't
Beating a
catch that.
woman
Nonsense.
who we have literally
I
never
caught it.
seen before. It's just one
Yeah,
shot of
yeah,
a
yeah.
man slapping a woman in this moment where we know
But, like,
all the other characters
aggressively.
involved.
I mean, bad. I mean, it's always bad, but like especially in this.
Oh,
one,
yeah,
like,
no,
it
it
feels
was
very
brutal.
narrative. You know,
Yeah.
like you're like.
They're like, I
This-
don't know,
this
this
will pay off
montage
later,
isn't good enough. We
certainly.
need one more like shocking example
Yeah,
of violence.
exactly.
Go hit that one.
What was the one?
Great.
What was that shot we had from the Peter Gabriel video? Oh, the one with the guy beating his wife. Yeah, we decided not to use it for that.
Yes.
Throw it in here.
When,
Yeah, no, it's totally
Yeah.
bizarre and unresolved, like so many things.
when does that scene
that
happen?
happen at the end? It's where it's when Father Marin is actually fighting the demon at the end.
Oh, okay.
When he's
Yeah, it's
reciting
late.
his prayer. When I say fighting the demon, I
Talking
mean this
to
is
the
really the problem with almost all these Exorcist movies is that like the way to beat the devil is usually prayer. But prayer is not an active thing. It's like if at the end of Die Hard, John McClane just kept on calling the FBI over and over again until they came and arrested Hans Gruber. It might make sense in the context of the world, but it would be a very unsatisfying ending to the movie. And that's
Fair.
and that's
Although
what, like-
in The Exorcist in the 70s, they really make it work.
Well, no, they
You know,
make it
like-
work because he actually throws himself out the window and like he outsmarts the demon by killing himself.
True.
You know,
But
so
even
it's
in like the bed shaking, even in the build up to it,
right.
like
yeah.
holding the thing, the crucifix, like
Well, they make
you
it a-
can, you can make it work.
The prayer
They
is
do.
the
Power of
challenge.
Christ
Can you keep
compels you.
praying? And that's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Father Marin's face gets kind of fucked up by the pincher bugs or whatever. But it's like in that original Exorcist, it's like, can you keep on praying? And then when Father Marin dies, can the young priest keep on praying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then when he realizes that he can't beat this through prayer, he says, "Take me," and then throws himself out the window, which is all very active, like he's doing stuff. And
Yeah,
even then,
that's true.
even then, I don't know how satisfying. Like for me, that was not as satisfying an ending as I think for a lot of other people. But like for so many of these movies, the solution is for them to just pray at him over. And this happened at beginnings too. It was like he just kept on praying until the praying worked, until God saved him.
Right.
But it's like,
And in the
That's-
end of this, it makes the blocking so awkward when he's like swinging around his necklace like with his hand. It's like
Yeah.
he's trying to make it look active,
and
but
it's
he's
and
not
and the,
really doing anything.
And the demon's
still.
reacting like he's getting splashed with holy water. And I'm like, you're just whipping air Jesus at him. And I'm not
Where
sure
was
how
the
this-
holy water?
Yeah,
I'd
seriously.
like to see some more holy water in
Yeah,
this one.
I didn't get it. Did not get that.
And
I think it would make a big splash.
God.
I'm getting wet just hearing you talk about it.
Not me.
Too full of
Yeah,
maggots, are you?
Dry as a bone over here.
Gross.
Oh man, do they make
Yeah,
his
and I mean,
head longer too when he goes into like Dragon Ball Z
Yeah.
mode? He's turning
Yes,
into
yeah,
like,
that's another.
the alien.
That was another
The head
Dragon
is
Ball Z thing where
Yeah.
I was like, wait, is this before or after Dragon Ball Z? Are they stealing from it or is it stealing from them? I don't know.
Yeah, they definitely should have had a freeze frame where the background just like whooshes behind it.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's also that thing that we mentioned before, but like there's that moment where like Father Merrin goes back down to confront the demon after the other priest has been shot with arrows, and it's like there's like a weird like Saint Sebastian reference where he gets shot with arrows and he's hung up there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, what is that saying? I just didn't get it. But the priest survives getting shot with several arrows, and then Father Merrin goes back to fight the demon and realizes
You guys
that
didn't
it's
get a Judge Reinhold vibe from this guy?
Totally, I got that.
from Father Francis.
I couldn't stop thinking
kind of.
about like what if Judge Reinhold and Colin Hanks were able to have a kid and it was like, like pretty skinny. It was
we should
this kid.
really
we should
skinny.
mention the actor's name is Gabriel Mann. I know him only from The Bourne Identity, where he plays Danny Zorn, who gets killed by Brian Cox to cover up his involvement in Treadstone.
It's a good
I'll save
franchise,
that
by
for,
the way.
I'll save that for our Bourne Identity franchise.
Yep.
But he's good as Danny Zorn, and he's actually really good in this. I thought, like at first I wasn't so sure, and by the end of this, he won me over. I was like, this dude's a pretty good actor. Why have I only seen him in two things? And I looked up everything else he's done, and he's like, he works really, really steadily, but like he hasn't really. Like he doesn't have he's got a weird kind of skinny face where you can tell he's not leading man material, but he's a solid actor that I think would could hold his own and stuff. So I was kind of baffled by his career arc.
Yeah, I thought he was good too. I think he had some weird delivery sometimes. He kind of like talks like this all the time, and I don't know if that was working entirely for the character for me.
I didn't like the sound in the movie altogether, and maybe it was because there was like other noises going on, but I had a hard time. I did not use subtitles, which I usually use, and I had a hard time distinguishing what they were saying sometimes. I don't know if
I
you
had
guys
to turn the
were-
subtitles
think
on
there
for
was-
that reason.
I think there was a sound problem as well because it's like, it's just not scary.
Right.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I
No,
scare
no.
pretty easily actually, but this movie, at no moment was I ever scared, and I think some of that is the sound.
Yeah, there's
It
no
was briefly
tension.
gross, but never scary. Oh, and there's just no. That's sort of what I was saying about when Father Merrin goes down to confront the demon, and then he realizes, oh no, it's a demon. I better run away and get my priest outfit on. And it's like,
Yeah.
and the
He's
demon
just
lets him
gonna
go.
saunter
It's like, what is that? It's constantly like
Yeah.
instead of maintaining tension or raising tension, it's constantly like, there's no urgency here. Exorcise the demon whenever suits you best. Don't worry about it.
I remember, Harris, I remember that exact moment that you're talking about. The shot, I believe the shot is sort of from maybe demon POV, and he just kind of like walks up the sort of plank thing
Jogs
to
up the
exit into the
stairs,
actual
yeah.
church. And
Yeah.
so you're not even like with him, like kind of scared, are you getting followed? Like the dude literally just walks out.
And,
like that's
and we
it.
stay on the demon reclining like he's Burt Reynolds in that famous Playgirl fold out, like just like doing his sexy face. It's so no, this is
You're again making the case for no undies.
oh yeah, I think that case has been made pretty strongly. It's I mean it's entirely possible the sound design and music and everything else suffered heavily from the way this was released.
Yes.
It's very
Yeah, that's
probable
fair.
that nobody
Yeah.
really gave this any TLC in the post-production sound department. But it's also a testament to how much I don't think realize how important sound is in some of these things, especially horror. I think it's
Especially in
one of the
horror,
most
yeah.
It's
critical
everything,
ones.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that.
I just got to the scene where he finds Father Francis with
I
the
got you,
arrows in
Colin.
him, and yeah, it's weird. I thought maybe I missed something, but yeah, you don't see him get hit with arrows. He just has them in him, and then I also wanted to.
And he's wearing some hot shorts. Like these are like even shorter than they're shorter and tighter than the ones the army guys wear.
Yeah.
This is Father Francis's big moment. This is his like centerfold moment.
I just wanted to remark on how well lit he was. I don't know if you guys know.
oh yeah. There's
There's like a clear
we're-
spotlight on him in broad daylight.
Oh yeah.
It's funny because we're at the same point in the movie right now, and there's very clearly like at least I think a gold foil bounce board
It's
at the
gold
very
foil,
least,
yeah.
Totally.
shooting
But
at
a
him.
big
right now.
one.
Yeah, big time.
Because that's a wide shot.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
And very phony looking.
very
little-
Jesus-like.
Very phony
you know?
looking little rubber arrows on him, but this
Yes.
is definitely his beefcake moment. Oh, I can actually
Yeah, they
see
didn't-
I can see the wrinkles in the prosthetic where they taped the arrow thing to his chest. That was all one piece, I guess. And then we get a cut to the hyenas, which honestly, the close-ups of the hyenas look pretty good for me. I'm
Cuddly.
like
Very
yeah,
cuddly.
Yeah, very cuddly. It's definitely it's so funny because it's like
I want one.
Yeah,
I want it.
it's definitely who's the third hyena that doesn't talk in Lion King? Not Whoopi Goldberg and not Cheech Marin, but that third guy.
I don't know.
I don't know
No
who
one
the
knows.
actor
They don't
is.
talk. If they don't talk, why do they need an actor? It's
I don't-
animated.
I think he makes
you know.
noises.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Come
Hyena
on.
he
noises.
just laughs, right?
That they couldn't afford Whoopi Goldberg or Cheech Marin, so they got that guy, and he plays all the hyenas in this movie.
Great job, because I loved those close-ups of the hyenas.
Yeah.
I will say, when they first come on the screen in the beginning, the hyenas, I did not think, I was like, what is that? It's like an alien dog.
Yeah.
Like it took me literally maybe 20 seconds, like, oh, it's a weird hyena, and then I thought, like, is that what hyenas look like? Am I just too used to the cartoon ones and I'm thrown? Or is this amazing CGI or terrible? Like, no, it's bad.
Yeah, so I'm going to be, I think, in the minority opinion here of the people who have watched both movies and say that I think these hyenas were better, only because let's just admit both hyenas were fucking terrible, but the ones in the other ones, as Colin pointed out, the ones in Beginnings were like gray blobs that moved unnaturally quickly and like
They look like
just,
pigs.
Yeah, and they looked like pigs and they juddered all over the screen. These ones look like hyenas. They don't move normally, but they move at like a normal speed for an animal. I thought, like, even in that first scene, which is by far the worst one, where they confront Father Marin.
Where they just come lumbering out like from behind.
Yeah.
The
The
curtain.
the biggest problem of that is not, I mean, they don't move normally, but that's like kind of forgivable. It's that they're not lit right. The lighting doesn't match, the shadows don't match the lighting of the environment they're interacting with, which is the real problem, which is probably an easy fix, like I think
there's very few shadows in this film at all, as we've
right,
just
and
been
the
talking
hyenas
about.
have a weird kind of yeah, exactly. It's all very brightly lit, but like that doesn't work. But in the close-ups and in a lot of the fleeting glances of the hyenas, I think they worked better just because we didn't see as much of them and they weren't moving as much, and they definitely weren't like pig-like gray blobs.
But like, why are they even in the movie though? Like, what do they actually? What
Separate
function
question.
do they serve?
Separate
Like,
question that
that's
I
pretty
cannot answer.
expensive.
At least in
They're in the movie a lot, and you're like,
in
why?
Exorcist the beginning, they actually kill someone, and like they're sort of
They're like the tools of the devil.
yes. In this
Okay.
one, not so much.
In this one, they're like the victims of a cow massacre.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I guess Pazuzu jumps into the
Yeah,
because we
that's
see
what I
the
was gonna
hyena with the
say.
red eyes.
Yes.
But like that would make a lot more
Context.
sense if they had set them up as like they're the devil's helpers, but they're just kind of around in this one. And sometimes
And as we all already know, the locusts are the devil's helpers.
Yeah.
That's-
well, in this one it's the pincher bugs
That
and the cows
Sure.
apparently.
this
I don't
is
know.
kind of what I mean by like it feels like there's information in both of these movies that is helpful as a whole, but like had like the hyena information from the first one should have been in this, and it would like be a better payoff when he jumps into one at the end, but like we didn't get that.
yeah.
they
And that's the person here who didn't see both movies. You don't get it.
Yes.
Right,
Like,
right,
I'm just
definitely.
gonna tell you, you don't
Yeah.
get it.
Hey, when you watch both movies, you barely get it. I think it would be an interesting experiment if you were like some, rich celebrity who had a lot of free time on your hand, like a Topher Grace type,
To, like,
to
cut
take
them.
to take Beginnings and Dominion and like cut them together into one movie that made some fucking sense and isn't
Oh my
terrible.
God.
Like,
That's a good assignment for like USC's advanced editing.
Totally.
class.
you hear me, Topher?
Let's do it,
You-
man.
Are you there, Topher? Are you out there? Let's see it. I want to see. What's the portmanteau of Beginion?
Beginning.
Beginion. Exorcist Beginion.
Exorcist
I want to see
Beginion.
Exorcist Beginion, Topher Grace.
Beginion sounds to me like in a post-apocalyptic world what Bennigan's becomes. Like they somehow survive as a restaurant chain, but like people didn't know they were called Bennigan's anymore. It's like, we need to go to Beginion to get the holy tater tot.
The only salvation is Beginion.
The only
Do they still have an all-you-can-eat buffet?
The freezer's on a generator. It's solar powered. The solar powered Beginian generator.
The last book is this manual for the Beginians.
The last
oven.
book is the Beginian menu.
Yeah.
They have happy hour every Thursday. Happy for a whole hour. Can you believe it?
The Finnegan's menu becomes the Bible. Everyone's like talking about how cheesy they are rather than holy.
I'm beginning to think that we should head over to Beginians. I am just going to reiterate, I'm at the scene where he has pure white nipples. Like someone painted...
They're the shiniest part of the scene.
Someone painted his nipples. Like not the areola part, but like the just the tip, just the nipply part of the nipple.
What is the message there? What does that have to do with the demon?
They've sparkled the areola part, though. I mean, these are definitely stripper nipples. These are
Stripples.
I can smell the coconut butter just looking at his nipples.
But what does it mean? Like,
I
why?
have no idea. I don't know. He is in fact totally covered in body glitter. I'm watching the same scene. He is definitely completely covered in body glitter.
There's some highlighter on the bald cap for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Very shiny, looking good.
Yep.
Looking nice.
Yep. And there's those weird, like they make him perfect to the point where even his nipples are like blended into his flesh with body glitter, but yet they have little weird scars on his head. What is that all about? Like it's like his head is becoming an alien's egg.
Well, I feel like they're just hiding some bald cap stuff for the scars, but I could
Possibly.
be wrong. But it is weird how he gets like so much hotter, and you're like, wow, okay. And then, there's the grotesque face-eating stuff at the end on Father Merrin.
It like doesn't fit. It's almost like non sequitur or something that he's like this. It's like
I mean,
like
I
almost
respect
funny.
the choice. Like, I respect it as like a different choice, but I needed more payoff from it of like why, and it doesn't go with the first Exorcist movie at all because she gets totally gnarly when she's possessed by the demon.
Yeah. And a lot of people when they're possessed, we've seen like mutilate themselves. That's antithetical to this.
Yeah, it's a weird choice.
Yeah, I mean the lack of eyebrows I think is definitely hurting his hotness though. Yeah. I feel like he would be at least 10% hotter with eyebrows.
Fair.
I mean,
he gets hair at the end.
The body glitter and I assume the cocoa butter smell offsets the lack of eyebrows. So I guess it's a wash, but still.
Wait, I think I see the guy who slaps his wife. It's this guy. He's wearing like a blue or gray button-down shirt. Harris.
Yes. Yep.
Are you at this part?
Yeah. We're at about the same place. Yes, it's definitely that guy. He's wearing like a normal outfit, and he just slaps his wife, and then we never see or hear from him again. I mean, this is I guess my biggest problem with this movie is we have all this build up, and then we have kind of unsatisfying payoff of like Father Merrin's gonna pray the demon away, and then we have like, I guess Rachel decides not to kill herself, but we don't find out what happened to Chuma and his seizures. And the British and the natives had started going to war, and then we just cut to the morning, and the natives are like, cleaning up, and the British are like cool, and they're gonna leave and not talk about it, and we don't find out what happens to the wife beater, and I guess there's no battle, and I guess Father Francis died off screen, and we don't know what happened to fucking Chuma, and I guess the sergeant major is a good guy now because he's like not gonna tell anybody about what happened. It's just
he's acting pretty chill.
But is Chuma the guy who has the seizure in the very beginning?
No.
Oh, who is that guy? Because they just let him seize and they stand over him for like 90
they're like,
seconds.
oh,
kinda
this is
chatting
normal.
about it.
It's heat stroke. This happens all the time. It's like it's so weird.
Yeah, and right after that, they're like, we need to work them harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They quickly rush him off in
Like,
the other
okay,
movie.
it's this kind of movie.
I feel like what's
Yeah,
going to
they
happen
do.
is like 10 years are going to go by and we're going to like fondly think back on the combination of these two movies as one and be like, yeah, that movie like covered everything it needed to. And then one day we're going to watch one of these and be like, oh no, wait, there's only half information in each movie.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. This is terrible.
Right. Why am I watching this again?
I feel like the snowy part was way more scary in the first version.
Well, yeah,
Really?
I mean, I have to commend this movie
I'm team this version.
I have to commend this movie for not having as much child murder as the previous one. But having said that, the child murder is much sicker and scarier than what we see in this movie.
I don't really. I do love these like weird outfits. When they're drinking the blood, the tribal people, and they've got all these crazy things.
Yeah,
I mean,
like the ghost
yeah,
meat, like the
they're-
white
yeah.
stuff.
I mean, they look completely ridiculous and cliche, but they're pretty dope looking. I think the whole Nazi sequence in the first one though is kind of like cartoonish and ridiculous, and we don't even really know what happened, and it's kind of like we don't get the full story. And this one we kind of see like the moral predicament that we get more
think you're
inside
right.
of the moral predicament Father Merrin's in, which to me is more horrifying than just he shoots a little girl for no reason, which is horrifying, but it's not horrifying for. I mean, it's horrifying for Father Merrin to see, but it's not horrifying for Father Merrin to participate in. Which is this one is like you sort of get why his faith is shaken a little more.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with all that. I was bothered by the lack of shadows, as the movie has like very few shadows. I think this scene should have been shadowy. They're in the snow in Holland, you know, and also I didn't the main Nazi actor guy.
He wasn't scary.
I wasn't totally impressed with him.
Right.
No.
Yeah, and I also when Father Merrin grabs the gun and threatens to shoot his hat if he doesn't back down, I was like, Father Merrin, point the thing at his head. Come on, you know. Like,
All right.
Yeah.
What have we learned? Has this movie taught us anything? Has this series taught us anything?
I don't.
Yeah, I want a hyena pet.
I want a computer generated hyena pet though because they seem cuddlier.
No, the practical ones were the cuddlier looking ones.
Oh yeah, it's true.
That's true.
Yeah, they reminded me of like Gizmo from Gremlins.
Yeah, I just watched that on Halloween,
That's a good
which
franchise.
was
I
long ago. Yeah.
I learned that I will start wearing underwear under my loincloths. Necessary.
It's a good policy.
So.
It's a good policy.
All right.
I'm going to wear the
to
leopard
each
print
his own.
underwear under my loincloths because I like to like sass it up a little bit. But you know, that's like for your eyes only. You know, that's like for special people, not
For whose
everybody.
eyes only? Who are you looking at? Colin?
You know,
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the loincloth without the cloth. It's just a belt with nothing else.
I learned to spice things up, I'm going to paint my nipples white going forward.
Oh, I have a funny story. When I was like a little kid, like probably like 5, 6 years old or something like that, I used to take like a belt and like go in the bathroom and find like the washcloth and like make it into a loincloth because I wanted to pretend to be like He-Man.
Adorable and charming. Tiny Colin.
a little bit
Yep.
terrifying. Yeah, and it explains so much.
Yeah.
I have one last thing to say about the very last shot of this movie,
Okay, go.
where Father Merrin walks out the door
In the fog.
into
or
the haze of
sandstorm.
some kind of sandstorm or something. There's something about that last shot. I watched it twice, and neither time I can't watch it without kind of hearing, like literally hearing in my head, a bunch of loud wind and fog machines, and a director or
I
an
know.
AD like frantically yelling out instructions.
More!
Yeah.
More fog. Oh, make it more even. No, keep
Yeah.
walking. You're almost clear. Okay, good. Now get behind. Okay, good. More fog now. Yes.
I just saw a great shot. There's a shot in the cave when Father Merrin is like walking around and he's in like the full priest garb at this point, and then all of a sudden behind him he's like clearly on like a dolly. Cheche like rolls by behind him, and then he like, turns
on the
around and he's not there.
Yeah. And now you're about to get to the awful shot where it's got the demon
just
face
saw it.
superimposed
Yeah,
over
it
his, like
looks really
crudely
bad.
superimposed over his face, which I was like, wait, like they probably shot that and they couldn't have done it better than, like they shot it intentionally for that and they couldn't have done it better than that. Oh, and what's with the lions and all these montages, like the Aurora Borealis
yeah.
montages at the end? All of a sudden we get,
yeah.
it's been hyenas,
bunch of
all
lions.
movie, hyenas, sometimes cows. And now all of a sudden we get lions. And what are the lions doing? Like one of the time the
Nonsense.
lion's eating and the other time the lion's not eating?
Yeah.
Nonsense.
No one
Absolute
knows.
nonsense.
No one
Aurora Borealis. At this time of year, in this part of the country,
This
Localized
located directly
entirely
into your
in your
kitchen.
kitchen.
Yeah, localized entirely in your kitchen. Yes. Can I see it?
Can I see it?
No.
Oh, all right. Are we ready to give this? What is our time at right now? Are we ready to Timothy Dolphin this?
I think so. I think we are.
Do we have anything
I-
else
I
important
won't-
to say about it?
I don't know.
Yeah, Jeannie, do you have any more notes, detailed notes about this film?
I think I've said everything I need to say.
From the beginning to the end, we've covered everything.
The beginnings.
All right, who
Observe the
All right.
holy menu.
wants to go
I-
first?
I-
Sorry.
I will go first. I'll go first. This is my Timothy Dolphin rating for this. I'll just reiterate what I said before. This is. I'm sorry. I just saw the part where he looks at the guy with the demon face. It's so bad. It's just the special effects are so bad. Oh boy.
Although I have to
yes.
interrupt, that's I definitely don't think they planned that shot. I think they were looking for a shot where they could just like quickly add a demon face to make it.
And then they should have definitely not done that.
Yeah.
I mean, really, just a random flash frame of the demon face would have been better than that.
Yes.
So I gave Beginnings a 5. I gave it 5 Timothy Dolphins. And this is, I just don't understand
No,
why
you didn't. You
they
gave it
looked
a 4,
I did?
according
Oh, okay.
to my thing.
I'll take your word for it.
Clerical errors.
I'll take your
What
word
the
for
hell?
it. Good. I might have made a
Can't
judgment
be
call
doing
on that
this
one.
here on License to Watch. We need to have our shit together.
Guys, I
All
got
right.
it all
Well, if I gave it a
documented.
4, I'm going to take your word for it. I gave it a 4, and I stand by that decision. It was a very smart call by me. And I would say that this is not better, but also when I watch this, it's not really that much worse. I am still baffled by the idea that somebody looked at this and they said, no, this isn't good enough for us. Reshoot almost the entire thing and make it like 2% better, which is fucking bizarre to me. And I do think the other one is more entertaining, and they both just fall apart on like the logic level. And so I'm going to give this a 4 also, but it's like a 4 with the caveat that it's a slightly smaller 4 than the 4 that I gave Beginnings. 4 Timothy Dolphins.
Excellent. I guess I'll go. So yeah, I also did not like this movie as much as the previous one, and I gave the Exorcist the Beginning a 5. It was totally middle of the road for me, and just basing it on my other scores, I don't like this movie more than I liked Exorcist 2, which I gave a 4, and I gave Exorcist 3 a 2. So I feel like I have to give this one a 3, just because it sucks, man. It's just like boring. I think that's its biggest detriment, is that it's boring. I found myself like losing interest towards the end. Oh yeah, I see the guy beating his wife, and it's not that guy. It's a totally different guy. Like, who the hell was that guy?
No one knows.
Unknown.
Seriously.
Unknown. That's crazy. Yeah.
The Lion Wrangler, apparently.
Right.
I mean, like, when you get right down to it, this movie was just like not as entertaining as the beginning. At least the beginning had like extreme violence, and like it built up to an action sequence with the kind of the battle at the end.
It had a couple of suspenseful sequences in it,
Yes.
I guess.
The twist of who the possessed was good. I think this movie just, I'm putting aside that it got treated poorly, and like they obviously didn't have the money for, the effects and the music and stuff. Putting that all aside, I still think this movie pales in comparison to the other one. And so I mean, I don't know what else there is to say about this. I give it 3 Timothy Dolphins. But it's still better than Exorcist 3.
It's better than 3?
I think so.
Even with
3 was unbearable.
yeah, even with Samuel L. Jackson
Jeannie.
and Fabio.
Jeannie, do you want to give this a shot? Let's hear what our guest has to say.
Okay, well, I have nothing to compare it to except for the original Exorcist, which of course I loved, although I haven't seen it in a long time. And I have to say that when you first started rating them, I thought to myself, what will I give this? And I thought 3.5. And then Harris said 4 and Matt said 3. And now I feel like it's such a cop-out, but a 3.5. It's a movie. They made a movie, guys. That's hard to do. They finished a
3.5
movie.
what? 3.5 what?
Are there choices?
It's a Timothy Dolphin scale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a long
Yes.
story.
I'm going to give it 3.5 Timothy Dolphins.
Great.
That was a good. You almost said Timony Dolphins.
I know. You put. I don't know.
We should
why.
do that.
Cut that
Timothy
part out for me,
Dolphin
Matt.
We should do that if people
No,
keep
we'll
messing
fix
it
it.
up. Like we just keep changing the name of whatever it is.
Too many dolphins. It sounds like too many dolphins.
Timony Dolphins.
Too many dolphins.
I feel like I gave this
reminds
movie
me
too
of,
many dolphins.
It reminds me of Jiminy Cricket because he's like Timony and Jiminy.
Yeah.
They could be brothers. Timony and Jiminy. Okay, Timony and Jiminy Dolphins could be Timothy Dolphins, like Goon Squad.
Colin, you're cutting into the time that we're giving you for your Timothy Dolphin rating.
Yes, I am. So
Wait,
yeah,
I gotta just say
mean,
that cat popped up on Harris's screen at the same time that the cute hyena just popped up on my movie.
Aw.
Oh.
So I didn't know which was scarier, guys.
That cat was trying to drink my bourbon.
Yes. Anyway, so Matt said this movie was boring, and he may be right. And Harris earlier talked about all of the ways that it failed to build the tension, and he may be right. And it is confusing why the demon really wants to make this guy hot, and like specifically in like a sexy way that seems to be out of context with the story we've seen. So yeah, basically this movie is not very good because I think what they wanted to do was really try to slowly build up tension, giving you like little like micro scares on the way to like a big, tense, thrilling ending. But they de-escalated too hard every time they, tried to de-escalate.
You're rambling.
Yeah, it didn't work very good. Well, we
Get
all
to your
do.
score.
I don't know. What else can I say?
The score?
You can tell us your score. Sorry.
There's some interesting things. I did catch myself imagining a pitch for a movie in which Colin Hanks and Judge Reinhold have a baby somehow, maybe some kind of sci-fi thing, and we could definitely get that guy from this movie, and I think we've got a picture. And so, in conclusion, I will be giving this 3 Timothy Dolphins.
Too many dolphins.
Wow.
Nice.
All right, guys, we did it.
We did it.
I think we accomplished a lot here today.
Yeah, like Timothy Dolphin swims up to you, and you're like, "Oh no, what am I gonna do?" And he's like, "Oh, wait, are you crossing me? Are you going against me?" And you're like, maybe, yeah, I am." And he's like, "Timony, Jiminy, get him!" And they're like, "Whoa," because that's how they swim,
What the fuck, man?
Oh my god. I mean, really, like there's
I loved
there's
it.
a level of
Write that
incoherence.
down.
There's a level of incoherence that I think people can hang with, and then there's sometimes it's just you're like on another planet. I don't even know what's going on here.
Colin, don't let them diminish your shine. We see
Thank you.
Well,
I'm trying.
Yikes.
Well, Jeannie, as the closing guest for our Exorcist series, you get to behold the announcement for what our next movie series we'll be covering is. So,
Behold, the menu from Binnigan.
Our sacred text.
note the appetizers and happy hour menu.
And then Doug went into the walk-in fridge, and he emerged with 8 hams and 18 servings of jalapeno poppers. And they ate for 40 days and 40 nights. All right.
All right. So coming up next,
It is my choice.
It is Harris's choice. That's right. Do you want to set it up?
No, I'm too old for this shit.
Okay. Oh,
Nice.
nice. That's right. We'll be doing the classic American buddy cop film series, Lethal Weapon. Yes, all 4
4
glorious
movies.
films.
Just getting worse and worse with everyone.
Well, we don't know.
And still pretty good.
Richard Donner directs all of them, I think, right?
I think he does, yeah.
Yeah. Shane Black is the writer. I mean, we're Mel Gibson. I mean, come on, we'll
have a lot to talk about.
We have a lot to talk about. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Join us.
And we've got some great guests lined up, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, none of them have gotten back to us yet, but we'll get them.
Yeah,
We'll get them.
They always show up the day of. They're like, what was I supposed
like
to
Danny
watch?
Glover a lot. Danny Glover, he's good. I loved him in Predator 2. Really liked him as the president in 2012. And other things.
Yeah, I'm sure he's in other things.
Good contribution.
Great. All right. Well, thanks to Jeanne Jo for joining us for this.
Jeanne Jo, you got anything to plug?
No, thank you so much for having me, guys. This was a lot of fun.
You don't have anything going on that you want to talk about? Any like films or things that people can check out online?
I got like a little. If you like horror movies, I have an older short film called Tampoon, a horror comedy about a killer tampon. I won't ruin the ending for you, but that's viewable online. This was a slower year because of COVID and everything, so a lot of my larger projects were set to go, and obviously now are pushed until we vanquish coronavirus. But there's a short on Amuletto that came out this year, Rachel from New York. I did a music video for Evie Oddly. She won Drag Race Season 11. A couple of small bits here and there.
Awesome.
Well, let's put some links
Thanks,
to Jeanne Jo
guys.
stuff on our.
Well, Jeannie, last thing, are you on Twitter, or like do you have anything, any social media?
Do you want
I
people?
am
Do you
not
want
on
people
Twitter,
bothering you on Twitter?
And let me just tell you, it's awesome.
Good for you. Me
to
neither.
Not be.
I'm
I
right
have an
there with
Instagram
you.
that I don't really use, but might use again at some point. I don't know.
Okay.
That sounds like a no. I'm a no too. Just don't.
So no communicating with Jeannie.
Yes,
Just
leave
scream
Jeannie
into the
alone.
ether, and maybe she'll hear you.
Everyone, just leave Jeannie alone. She's fine. She's good.
All right. Well, that's great, and thanks again
Thank you for having me. It's
doing
so
this show
fun
with
to
us.
see you guys.
And
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
maybe we'll get you
Thank
back
you.
one
And-
day in the future.
We'll definitely get you back when we
Oh my
review
God.
Topher Grace's
Yes.
Beginning.
Beginning.
All right. Well, we did it, guys. Exorcist is done, and we'll have to summarize our scores in the next episode. So tune in for that. But for now, we're out of here.
Oh, good sign off. I like that you paused for a second, like you were thinking of something good, and then you were like, "We're out of here."
Well, there's nothing
Nice
really
job, Dennis
good
Miller.
from this movie that we could
It's
use to
great.
take us out.
We are out of here, and he writes on his little paper and.
I cast you out of the holy beginnings.
Should we just like laugh like hyenas or something, and that'll take us out?
No, I think Colin's beginning joke works. Let's just do that.
All right.
He was expelled from the beginnings and could never return. His picture was put above the cash register, and they said, "Do not let this man, do not accept checks from this man at beginnings."
We still have checks? I thought we were in the future.
I don't know. I don't
Yes,
know
of
how.
course we still
I don't
have
know how
checks.
currency works, and neither do you.
We don't even have paper checks now anymore, basically, except for payroll.
Alrighty.
All right, that's enough. I'm going to stop recording
let's
now.
stop.
We got something that we can end this podcast with.
We're done.